Good morning, everybody. My name is Imran Hassan and I am your mathematics teacher. Today I am going to start with a very new chapter of mathematics of a standard 10th, chapter 14, statistics. Before we proceed with this chapter, let me take you through what we have done in our previous classes. So in our previous classes, we have studied about finding the central tendencies. Finding the central tendencies, or to measure the central tendencies via the methods like mean, median and mode. Apart from this, we have also studied about how to represent a data in a picture format, or we call, in other words, pictorially, such as bar graphs. We have used histograms. Alright, so I'll take you through it. We have used bar graphs, histograms, including those of varying widths, and frequency polygons. Apart from that, what I have said earlier, that is mean, median and mode, that is the measures of central tendencies. Alright, so this is all what we have done in our previous classes. So basically, in the previous class, if you talk about class 9th, we have done, or we got to know how to find the central tendencies using mean, median and mode. So in this class, we'll be repeating the same. However, that will be only for group data, not for the ungrouped data. So how to find the mean of group data? So to find the mean, which is also called as average, of the observations, so we need to find out, or we need to follow certain procedure, and the formula is quite simpler, very simple, and you will not find it difficult to get the solutions of any questions if you use this formula. Alright, so let us understand how do we get it. In simpler terms, if you see that in our earlier classes or previous classes, we used to find the average, isn't it, in mathematics. So average was sum of all observations upon total number of observations, or sum of all the numbers. Suppose I have got 1, 2 and 3. There are 3 numbers. To find the average of these 3 numbers, what we have done earlier, 1 plus 2, that is sum of all the 3 numbers, divide by total numbers, that is 3. So 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So you get 6 by 3. The answer is 2. Alright, so this particular method we have used earlier, and we have been using that. So little more defined way of finding the mean of group data will be follows as given in these steps. So in this class, the sum of the values of all the observations divided by total number of observations will give you the mean or average of the observations. So let us recall it. Suppose if we have the observations like x1, x2 or xn, isn't it? Till xn it is given. So it is n number of observations, and the respective frequencies will be f1, f2, f3 till fn. Alright, so the respective frequencies means what? The number of times the given observation is repeated. Suppose x1 is repeated f1 times, x2 is repeated f2 times, till xn, which is repeated fn times. So to get the mean of this particular observation, which is repeated as per the given frequencies, is given by x bar. So the mean is represented as x bar. So x bar is equals to sum of all the observations upon total number of observations. The total number of observations is sum of all the frequencies. And how to get the sum of all the observations? By multiplying the number of times the given observations has occurred in a given data. So how to understand that? Like how many times x1 has repeated? f1 times. So x1 into f1. Similarly for x2, f2. So we have to add all observations according to their frequencies and divide by total number of frequencies, like this. So this particular x bar can be represented in another format, like which is given here. If you see here, so we, in short, form we write the summation of these numbers, like the frequencies and the observations, divided by total number of frequencies by a Greek letter which is called as sigma, which means the summation. Summation means to add up all the numbers. So moving to the next one now, if you see here, you will get to understand very easily that x bar is equals to sigma of fi xi, which is from, what is I starts from 1 to n. So observation start from the first observation to the nth observation. Similarly, the respective frequencies from 1 to n, and here is fi. Okay, so in briefly, how do we write it? Sigma of fi xi divided by sigma of fi. So this is how we find the mean of a ungrouped data, okay, or group data. So moving further, let us take an example to understand it better. Look into this example now. The marks obtained by 38 students of class 10 of a certain school in a mathematics paper consisting of 100 marks are presented in table below. Find the mean of the marks obtained by the students. Suppose marks obtained and number of students who got, suppose 10 marks is obtained by only one student, 20 by 1, 36 by 3, 40 by 4, 50 by 3, means 50 students, means 3 students got 50 marks, 2 students got 56, 4 got 60, 4 got 70, 1 got 72, 1 got 80, 2 got 88, 3 students got 92, and last, that is 1 student scored 95 marks. So this is how the table is represented, okay, where marks obtained is the observation and number of students will be the frequencies. So how to understand and how to find the mean of this given data? So first of all, we have to arrange it in a tabular format where we write the marks obtained and number of students, like here, a number of students as per the given table. So fi xi is what? What is fi xi? It's total observation, isn't it? That is 10 students have got, like 10 marks is received by one student, so it is total 10. Similarly, if you go to 3, so 3 students have got 36 marks, so we have to add all, right? So instead of writing 36 3 times, we just write 36 one time, and respective frequency is 3, and total will be 108. So 36 multiplied by 3 will give you 108. fi xi means nothing but fi multiplied by xi. Okay, so that will give you 108. Moving further, now here the summation comes. If we add all together, right, sigma of fi will give you 30, adding all frequencies, and sigma of fi xi will give you 1779. All right, so how to find the mean? Now it's very clear that mean is given by the formula x bar is equals to sigma of fi xi divided by sigma of fi, right, and putting the values accordingly in the given formula and taking out the mean out of it. So see here, 1779 was the summation of fi xi divided by sigma of fi, that is total number of frequencies, that is 30. Okay, so 30 number of students were there, right? So you got mean as 59.3. Now suppose this is the data which is given in very short, like it was a very short data. What about if we receive a long data, isn't it, where the values are quite big, isn't it? That becomes very difficult and tedious to work it out. So for that, we have got the methods to find the mean. So there are 3 methods basically to find the mean. The first one is called as direct method. The first one is direct method. The second is called as assumed mean method. Assumed mean method. And third one is a step deviation. So first one is the direct method, second is assumed, and third is direct method, step deviation method. So in all these 3 methods, the values which you get is approximate. Okay, that is not the exact, that is the approximate values. Okay, so in most of our real life situations, data is usually so large that to make a meaningful study, it needs to be condensed as group data. So to get, like, suppose if we get like n number of values, quite a lot number of values if we get, isn't it? And if you go with this process, what we have done here in the previous one, if you go by this method, sigma of fi xi by sigma of fi, and arranging the data in this tabular format, suppose we have got 30 students, isn't it? If we have many number, like if the data goes to n number of times, so in that case we have to keep drawing the table, isn't it? And the data will be larger, so that becomes a tedious work. Okay, and that becomes a very difficult part, isn't it? The calculation will be quite high, isn't it? And it will be quite difficult also to add up, and it is time consuming. So we have found out very easy methods. The three methods are there. One is called direct method, second is assumed mean, and third is the step deviation method. So in order to reduce the observations, isn't it? In order to condense, you need to condense it. So what we have to do here, we have to condense as a group data. So we need to make the observations in groups. Okay, convert the observations into groups so that you get I mean, you'll be having a very short time to solve the questions, so you can solve those questions in a given time very easily. And if you follow the previous method, then it will take more time, isn't it? So let's start with the second part of it, that is the first method to find out the mean using the direct method. So for that we have to condense the data. Condensing data means what? We have to arrange the given observations, that is marks obtained here xi, into groups. So groups will be like this. Suppose converting the ungrouped data of example number 1 into group data by forming class intervals of width, say 15. So say 15 means what? You can take any intervals, that is because that particular data was not grouped, so we have to make in a group wise. So that group wise is nothing but the class intervals. So class intervals means what? We have got two limits. The first one is the upper limit and second one is the lower limit in that. So I'm talking about this, that is 10 to 25. This is the lower limit, okay, and this one is the upper limit. Alright, so everywhere is that, like 25 and 40. For 25 is the upper limit, 40 is the lower limit. 40 is the upper limit, 55 is the lower limit. So this is the exclusive form of data, okay, not inclusive. Exclusive means what? The upper limit is not taken into consideration in this case. So in all the examples we have to include only the lower limit and leaving the upper limit data. So for example, if you see here, while allocating frequencies to each class interval, students falling in any upper class limit would be considered in the next class. Example, 4 students who have obtained 40 marks would be considered in the class interval of 40 to 55. So this class interval we have to consider for the students who have scored 40 marks, not this one, because in this 40 is not included. In this one, in this kind of data where we have grouped it into the class intervals, we have to consider only the lower limit data, not the upper limit. Now, and with this convention in our mind, let us form the group frequency distribution table. Okay, so we have 10 to 25, 25 to 40, 40 to 55. So how do we get to know from where do we have to start? Okay, so to understand that one, let us go back to data again. Here if you see, we have got 10, 20, 36. So the lower range, that is the data which we have started, was from 10. So we have taken 10 as the first one. Okay, and then we can decide for the next limit, that is the upper limit, as our own. Okay, and we will consider like how many data, like what is the frequency, number of students falling in those categories, and accordingly we frame the class interval. So here we have the data, that is class interval as 10, 25, 25 to 40, 40 to 55, 55 to 70, 70 to 85, 85 to 100. And in 10 to 25, number of students are 2. So the one who have scored 10 to 25 marks means the one who is coming under 10 to 25, not 25, only 10 to 24 suppose. Okay, number of students are 2. Let us check it back again. So 10 marks is 1, 20 is 1. So next is 36. So 36 will not be considered in that class interval, that is 10 to 25, because 36 is more than 25, so we will not be considering that. So number of students falling in that category is 2. 1 plus 1. Okay, so that becomes 2. So the same thing is given here. 10 to 25 is 2. So how to understand and how to find out the mean of this grouped data? So to find the mean of this group data, we need to find the class mark. Okay, it is assumed that the frequency of each class interval is centered around its midpoint. So the midpoint, which is a class mark, which we have already studied in class 9th, that how to find the midpoint or the class mark of the given class interval. So to find the class mark, we need to divide upper class limit, addition of upper class limit and lower class limit by 2. So here is the class mark. So this is how do we get the class marks: upper class limit plus lower class limit by 2. What I mean to say here is, upper class limit is 10, lower class limit is 25. So 10 plus 25 by 2. Okay, that is nothing but the average of the class intervals. Okay, a single class interval, that is 10 to 25, 10 plus 25 by 2. Okay, simply we are finding the mean only here, the mid values. So here we get 10 plus 25 by 2, which is 17.5. Okay, so these class marks serve as our xi's. Now in general, means these class marks will be treated as the observations only, that is xi. Okay, so in general, for the ith class interval, we have the frequency fi corresponding to the class mark xi. Now moving further, let's see here now the new table which we have deduced from the given informations, what we have seen in the previous table here, that the class interval is already designed. If you see here, 10 25, 25 to 40, 40 to 40, 55, 55 to 70, 70 to 85, and 85 to 100. And number of students falling will be corresponding to the given class intervals. So how to find the class mark? Addition of these two divided by 2 will give you 17.5. Similarly for 25 and 40, addition divided by 2, 32.5. And then, as I said earlier, that this class mark will be treated as the observation only. Earlier into that we were considering the observation in place of class marks, okay, when it was not grouped. So it is taken as the observation now. So 17.5 multiplied by 2 will give you 35. Similarly 32.5 multiplied by 3 will give you 97.5. 47.5 multiplied by 7 will give you 332.5. So this way we have to find the value of fi xi. Okay, and then as we know the formula of finding the mean, that is addition of all fi xi, that is summation of fi xi, that is 1860, and summation of the frequencies, that is 30, and getting the values. So the mean out here of the same table, see, now you'll find the differences here, that in the earlier part of this particular content, okay, we have got the mean as different values. Okay, in the previous table, okay, we observed that table 14.1 and 14.3 are using the same data. Okay, however, what we have got from the previous table, the mean as 59.3. However, here what we have got is 62, which is an approximate mean, not the exact. So earlier when it was not grouped, we got an exact mean, that is 59.3, but in approximation we got 62, which is an approximate mean. But the question is, why do we use the one which gives the approximate value. See, this particular method is used in so that we reduce our time of calculations. Okay, our calculations will go little faster. So 59.3 and 62 is very near about, isn't it? Okay, so this is the approximate number. And what is the advantage of using this particular method? That is a direct method, that by using this method we can reduce our time of calculations. We can save our time. It is not a tedious process, very easy and very simple to understand also. Going to the next step now, the next method of finding the mean using the assumed mean method, which I have already discussed in the first part of this chapter. That is finding the assumed mean, like finding the mean using the assumed mean method. Okay, so the questions will be coming like find the mean using like assumed mean or step deviation method. They will not be asking like that. Okay, you have to understand that if the data is big, which method to be applied and which method you are comfortable with. Okay, accordingly you use that method. So for this category, okay, for this section, the next part of finding the mean using assumed mean, say that suppose the data is quite big, not as big as what we see here. If it is quite big number, okay, so in that case what we have to do, so when the numerical values of x1 and f1 are large, okay, finding the product of xi and fi becomes tedious, isn't it? Here we got the class mark and multiplied with the frequencies. The class mark was not that big, so it was easy to do the multiplication, isn't it? However, suppose the values of the observation and the frequencies, respective frequencies, are quite big enough. So in that case what we need to do, we need to shorten it, isn't it? We have to short that out so that the calculations or the multiplications become easier for us. So in that case we can do nothing with the f's, means frequencies. We cannot do anything with the frequencies, but we can change each observations to a smaller number so that our calculations becomes easy. So how do we do that, isn't it? So we can subtract a fixed number from the given observation. Okay, so we have to subtract a fixed number with a given observations. Okay, and that number is taken as assumed mean number. Okay, whatever number you will be taking to subtract with the given observations, that number is taken as, or the number is called as assumed mean. The first step is to choose one among the xi's as the assumed mean and denote it by a letter A. And further reduce our calculation work, we may take A to be xi, which lies in the center of the given observations. So let us understand by looking at the table here. Okay, suppose we choose the assumed mean from the center of the given observations, means any like where it is lying in the mid part of it. So A is equals to 47.5 is chosen, or you can take 62.5. So here in this question it is taken as 47.5 as assumed mean. So how to get the deviation here, isn't it? The deviation di is given by the given observation minus the assumed mean, xi minus A. So xi minus 47.5, which is taken as assumed mean. Look at this now, the given table here. The class intervals are given already. The same example that we are taking, okay, so that the things becomes easier to connect. So what are the differences between all these methods by taking the same table? So class intervals as it is, number of students, that is the frequencies as it is. We have to find the class mark, which is quite easier. Now the assumed mean is taken like this, xi minus 47.5. Now 47.5 was taken from the mid part here, 47.5 from here, right? So if you see here, the first number is 17.5. If you subtract 17.5, okay, 47.5 from the 17.5, then what you get? Minus 30. Okay, similarly 47.5 from 32.5, you get minus 15. 47.5 minus 47.5, you get 0. and so on and so forth, and you get the less number, isn't it? The value has shortened here. Okay, very small value you get, so that the multiplication becomes easier. So 30 into 17.5 is 60. FIDI, sorry, FIDI, because class mark is taken for the previous direct method, and for the assumed mean method we directly go with DI. So 2 into 30 becomes very easy, isn't it? 60. The multiplication becomes easier. 3 into 15 becomes minus 14. Similarly, we go for the last class interval, that is 85 to 100, which is 6. 6 multiplied by 45 will give you 270. Now see the differences here. In the earlier part it was around say it was the sigma of Fi xi was 1860, right? And in this particular table the sigma of Fi xi is quite smaller, isn't it? 435. So this is what the magic is all about, by using different kinds of method to finding the mean. Now you got sigma of FIDI, right, by adding all the FIDIs. Now how to find the mean of this deviation? So this deviation mean is d bar. Okay, mean is always given by bar sign. So d bar is equals to sigma of FIDI by sigma of Fi. Alright, so first of all our prime responsibility is to find the deviation, okay, mean deviation, and then finding the actual mean. So how to find the actual mean here? See, now we know that d bar is equals to sigma of Fi di by sigma of Fi. Now what was di? Di was nothing but xi minus a, right? If you see in the table, it was xi minus a. So d bar is equals to sigma of Fi, and in place of di we have written here xi minus a, and then solving it, what you get here is sigma of Fi xi by sigma of Fi minus sigma of Fi a by sigma of Fi. So here Fi xi means what? X bar, okay, and sigma of Fi divided by sigma of Fi will get cancelled, and what you get is only a. So x bar is nothing but x bar is equals to a plus d bar. Okay, so you got d bar from the previous calculation, okay, and you just add the assumed mean to it and you will get your mean. Yeah, it's easy. See here, so x bar is equals to sigma of Fi di, you got this value, isn't it? This is a, this is assumed a, right? Assumed mean you have taken as, this is a, and sigma of Fi di means 435 divided by 30, which is 14.5, adding to it is 62. So if you see in the direct method we have got the mean as 62 only, and here with assumed mean method we have got the mean as 62 only. So in these two methods the mean is same, which is the approximate value of the given data. Now going further, suppose the data is little larger than what we have been finding out here. Okay, suppose data becomes quite larger, little more, isn't it? So in that case, what is the next method is? The next method is a step and deviation method. Okay, to finding the mean using a step deviation method. So to reduce little more, what we have to do here? So value of mean, what we have found out here, does not depend. Okay, it does not depend on the choice of a. You can take a, that is assumed mean as any number. Okay, it is your wish, but it is advised that you take the middle values. Okay, so that the things becomes quite easier. Any which ways you can take anything. The answer will become and the answer will be same in all the cases. If you change the value of a, it's your choice. Okay, so let us go for little more like precise method, which is the step deviation method. Here we are trying to find out a smaller number by multiplying with fi's, isn't it? So see here, how do we find it? So the 15 is the class size. What is the class size? How to get the class size? Class size is we can find the value of class size by subtracting the upper limit minus lower limit. So upper limit minus lower limit means what? 25 minus 10. 25 minus 10 will be what? 15. It is 15. Yeah, so that is the class size. So h is equals to 15. So what basically we are doing, so di was, deviation was dividing the deviation, that is xi minus a, by the class size. Okay, so if you do this particular thing, the dividing by the class size, the number gets little more smaller, isn't it? Yeah, it becomes more smaller. So if you see this table here, so far till here, that is deviation, that is the observation minus the assumed mean, and then finding the ui. Okay, ui means what? Deviation divided by the class size, that is minus 30 divided by 15 will give you minus 2, minus 15 by 15 will give you minus 1. So if you see the data here and here, if you observe these two datas, okay, so if you see here, the data here is little bigger than data here, isn't it? So this data is quite smaller than the previous data, right? And then finding the equivalent frequencies multiplication, that is ui minus ui multiplied by the fi. So minus 2 into 2 will give you minus 4, right? Similarly, you go further and finding the summation of fi ui, that is 29, right? So now I think that you can find the mean, or you can derive or deduce the formula of mean using this method. Okay, it's quite easier now. Let us observe here. Ui is equals to sigma of fi ui by sigma of fi. Ui means what? The mean of this particular data, which we have got here, fi ui. Okay, so mean means additions of all divided by total frequencies. So addition of all is 29. So the number is getting reduced step by step. In direct method it was quite big. In assumed mean method it was little less than the direct method, and in a step deviation method the number has gone little more down, isn't it? Means not little, it is quite less. So 29. So here, how to get the relationship between u bar and x bar, I hope you can find by yourself here. See, so ui is equals to xi, that is the deviation by class size. Alright, so u bar is equals to what? U bar is sigma of fi ui divided by sigma of fi. Okay, so u, in place of ui we have placed this, the value which we have got from the table. Okay, and then sigma of fi, and accordingly solving it, after solving you get what? You get h u bar equals to, that is the mean x bar minus a, and then we need to find the x bar. So x bar is equals to a plus h u bar. Okay, or a plus h. What is u bar? U bar is fi ui by sigma of fi. And then let's find out the value of x bar using this method. So what is the value of a? A is the assumed mean, that is 47.5, plus h is what? H is the class size, which is 15 already taken, and sigma of fi ui. Sigma of fi ui was 29, and fi is as it is, which is 30. Okay, and we get the value as 62 here also. So in all these three methods we have got the values of we have got the value of mean as 62 only. Okay, so it doesn't matter, like if you see the number, the values are not changed in all these three methods. So why don't we use this, like the methods which is quite easier and less time consuming, isn't it? Instead of using a method which is quite longer and give you a larger values. So you can shorten your values by using these three easy methods. Now here we have the examples. The table below gives the percentage distributions of female teachers in the primary school of rural areas of various states and union territories of India. Find the mean percentage of female teachers by all the three methods discussed in this section. Okay, this question is for you, class. You can just solve it and send it to me over my WhatsApp number. And here are a few more questions where you can solve it up and send it to me. Exercise number 14.1 from NCERT. I hope you all have got your books. So you just solve this exercise number 14.1, and in this in this particular exercise, all the questions are based on what we have discussed in today's class, and I hope the things gets easier and better, isn't it? And you can send your answers to my WhatsApp number. Okay, I'll check it and get back to you on the same. And if you face any problem, you can always raise your questions in the comment section or over the WhatsApp. I hope that's all from today's class, and in the next class we'll be discussing about the next central tendency, that is the median. Okay, and then we'll move to mode system, and all these particular things are quite easier. No need to worry about it. The chapter is quite easy to understand, and the questions are very simple to solve. For any queries, you can always call me on my number, which is 88 777 400 22. That's all from today's class, students. Thank you.